Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Year of the Demons, and this week we are going to be reviewing The Church. Now, The Church is technically Demon 3, but it was the second one to use that moniker. Now, when Demons was originally, Demons 3 was originally thought of going in production, Lamberto Bava was attached to it, but it just, after a while, just fell through. It didn't seem like anyone really wanted a third Demons movie. So instead, Dario Argento, who's still producing this one, brought on butchering this right here, Michele Soavi, do not hold me to that pronunciation, to come on and direct the picture. He also did some of the writing for it as well. Now, this guy, Soavi, is the one who played the same guy who acted as the demon, was like the metal mask in the very first Demons movie. So just some connections there. Dario Argento producing again. Yes, that's another connection. And then also Asia Argento, the daughter of Dario. She came back. She was in Demons 2 as a little girl, and unrelated to this one, she's playing like a teenage girl in this. But besides that, and like some plot elements that are kind of Demons-esque, this really doesn't hold true as a Demons sequel, which I don't think is entirely a bad thing. It was, because Soavi wanted to make a movie that was a little bit like higher arts, a movie that isn't kind of like trashy like the first two Demons movies were, which sort of kind of feels like an insult, saying like, hey, your movies aren't too important, I want my movies to be held in higher regard. At the same time, Demons and Demons 2 are kind of trashy. So I get why he wanted to make something that was just scarier instead of like entertaining. Which, not saying he didn't want to make an entertaining movie, but you guys probably know what I mean by that. This is a bid for higher art, and I want to say that they kind of meet that bid. The plot opens with some people called the Teutonic Knights, which was actually a real group of, very similar to the Templars back during the Crusades, and they're killing some alleged Satan worshippers. And they're all put in a mass grave, and there's just like this massive scene at the beginning that kind of feels out of place, and I'll talk about it later. But after this scene, they decide to put up a church over all of these Satan worshippers in order to keep all the evil, like, in one place. Now, flash forward to, like, current day, which was late 80s, and we have what we think is our protagonist named Evan, who's a librarian who's coming into this church to catalog all the books. He starts doing some digging, and eventually he kind of, like, finds out, like, the true nature of like why this church was built and what's underneath it and what's going on. So once you figure out what's going on, he kind of opens a portal to hell, which turns him into like a goat demon of sorts, and kind of releases demons all throughout the church. Now, this isn't like a big spectacle that was in like Demons 1 and Demons 2. This is much more low-key, kind of like a possession in a way, instead of just outright demons taking over. Now the church is also closed down, and the demons start like kind of taking over people and messing with their imagination, and there's sometimes when you can't really tell if something's happening or it's just in their head. There's also a bunch of random demons, like practical effects thrown out throughout the movie, which are good, actually very, very good puppeteering and practical effects work. It's very sparse, which it would probably be one of my few complaints for this movie, is that there's a lot of good stuff going on, and it's just they don't linger on it enough to really enjoy it. Along with Asia Argento playing, which our like sole survivor by the end of it, there's also a priest who becomes like our main protagonist, I would say, by the end, played by Hugh Quarshie, who went on the following year to be Detective Joyce in Nightbreed, another movie that I've reviewed on this channel, and is the best horror movie ever, but I digress. He plays a priest who he really doesn't confront any of the demons, I would say, but he's the one who like tries to like keep all the demons at bay and not escape the church, which is what their ultimate plan is. One of the best things about this movie is its set, because not only is the set design really good, there's some great striking visuals that they come up with that like really linger well after the credits roll. But there's also a lot of scenes filmed within a church. And apparently they had a lot of trouble filming in a church because no one wanted to have a movie of this nature filmed within their actual church. So they had to go to like Eastern Europe, which is where things are a little bit more relaxed in general, and they were able to film in an actual cathedral, and it looks amazing throughout. Like, there's also some set work, but even just set work looks amazing. I love all the designs that they have, and it's clear that they put a lot of effort into like the minute details within like what we're seeing, because like the lighting's also really good. The music, which one of the people from Goblin helped do it, it really creates this really eerie atmosphere. And I would say up until this point, this is the most gothic that you will get out of any of the demon movies so far. It's just a very like evocative piece of film that it definitely reaches higher art like ambitions. It goes beyond what Demons and Demons 2 were trying to do, and it does its own thing, and I actually respect it for it. Now, with all that said, there are some weaker elements that kind of keep it from being like this huge monumental turning point in horror cinema. And I would say it's mainly because the plot's a little incoherent. For an Italian movie, it has a pretty coherent plot, but for a movie in general, there's some things that just don't really add up well, and you don't really know what's going on sometimes. And I think there's also some acting that's not done particularly well, and the dubbing doesn't help, which again is another thing with Italian movies. Exception to that though is Hugh Corsi. He is great in this movie and really deserved better than what roles he's been given. I remember him from not only Nightbreed, but also playing in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. He was my favorite character growing up, so clearly I have a weak spot for him, but there's a reason. He's a great actor. But besides that, there are some questionable acting skills in it. And along with that, the conclusion really leaves more to be desired, because you kind of feel like it's all building up to like this big confrontation, or at least this big reveal, or just like something, and it just kind of ends. It ends with kind of like a whimper instead of a bang, which is disappointing because the movie up until this point really had a lot to offer. As I mentioned before, there are some things that kind of relate it to demons, but again, this isn't truly a Demon 3 film. Some of the ways that it is related to Demon 3, is related to the Demon series, is people get locked into the cathedral. So before it was like a movie theater, then an apartment, and then this one it's like a cathedral. And that's a very, very cool setting, if I do say so myself. Now, along with that, there's also when people get scratched by the demons, they eventually become like a sort of demon themselves. Now, they don't look anything like the original Demon series, but they're at least demons instead of ogres. Now, along with that, I think this plot could have been like a really good prequel to the Demon series. Like, possibly could explain like where like the film came from Demons 1, and also like where the demons came from, and they could have even introduced like the metallic mass that set everything into motion before. I just feel like there's a lot of things that the Demon series could have touched upon that didn't, because they went on all the unrelated tangents, which is disappointing. But what we get with this movie really is a solid effort. There are some good kills with it. Let's see, there was a time when, in the opening scene where a woman gets her head chopped off and a bunch of horses kind of play soccer with it for a bit. And there's other things where like a man commits suicide by jackhammer. There was a time when a woman gets like her face just obliterated by a subway, and you like see it all happen. It doesn't look too realistic, but it looks cool. There's also a time where an old lady uses her husband's severed head in order to ring a bell to get people's attention. And just all kinds of cool stuff like that, where it's like, there's good effects going on, there's good creature work, it's just maybe not enough for a Demons movie. So, overall, like, it really is a good movie. It kind of has some great moments, some great visuals going on, like stunning cinematography all around, and it's a very good movie to look at. But I would say due to some, like, questionable narrative coherence, especially, like, in the middle of the movie, along with an intro that probably doesn't need to exist, and that kind of also kind of holds it back, sadly. It's still a good movie. Like, this is a very early effort by Soavi, and his name will come up again on not one but 2 future Demon sequels. and which I think he's going to probably improve upon his craft, because he is known for one of the best foreign horror movies in existence, which we will actually be covering because it's considered a Demon sequel. But this, I think, is a great early effort by him. It's not a classic. If you enjoyed Italian cinema and anything really gothic from the 80s, then this is a good movie for you, but it's not quite a classic or the kind of movie that I really wanted it to be. I think I'm probably holding up to a higher standard than I did Demon 3 the Ogre, but I think it still delivers on something truly great. So I would recommend this for fans of the Demons movies, and this is probably the best Demon 3 that you're going to get. So tune in next month when I review the third Demon 3, which by the title it sounds like it'll probably be the worst one. It's called Black Demons. So we'll see how that turns out.